2 American warships damaged, quote unquote. Now, Iran is claiming direct hit the U.S. Navy to Hormuz missile storm on U.S. bases, on U.S. warships. It is just getting crazier and crazier every single day. Now, let me actually share with you some of these updates in this video, because I have so many, and I want to actually start off with the recent development that I'm receiving at the moment. And let me share that first. Fresh claims from Iran suggest that the recent naval confrontation in the Strait of Hormuz may have caused significant damage to American warships. Significant damage to American warship. When Iran says something like this, it pretty much basically means that these warships are now non-operational because of the damage. That's what it really means when they say that we have hit them. This is coming from Tasnim news agency linked to Iran's IRGC, reported that 3 U.S. destroyers, 3 of them, USS Truxtun, USS Mason, and USS Rafael Peralta, were targeted in a massive missile, drone, and fast boat assault near the strategic waterway. This is also what we understand, what they call it, Iran, the mosquito fleet. They use this kind of mosquito fleet in order to scare the enemy. Iranian sources claimed the destroyers withdrew toward the Sea of Oman after suffering significant damage, quote unquote, though the United States has denied that any warships were hit. The U.S. Central Command, they have confirmed that Iranian missiles, drones, and small boats attacked American destroyers transiting the Strait of Hormuz into the Gulf of Oman. CENTCOM said U.S. forces intercepted the incoming threats and carried out, quote unquote, self-defense strikes on Iranian missile and drone launch sites, command centers, and surveillance facilities. Washington insists no U.S. assets were struck during the confrontation. Before I share with you some other very significant news, just to remind you, not subscribe to my channel, consider subscribing. Let's actually start with this particular report first.
There is also breaking news involving the war in Iran tonight, the U.S. and Iran trading fire, and what President Trump is now saying about this, what he told our Rachel Scott just a short time ago. And where does the effort to restart talks now stand tonight? Here's Rachel Scott.
Tonight, the Pentagon says Iran fired missiles at American Navy destroyers trying to cross the Strait of Hormuz, and that the U.S. fired back, striking Iranian military facilities and command locations. Central Command describes the American strikes as self-defense. In an interview with me tonight, President Trump...
from this report, it is quite obvious to me that U.S. was hit very hard. So what Iran is claiming does make sense. Why? Because United States then targeted, after this particular attack on these 3 Navy ship or warships, United States carried out massive attack on Iran. They would not do that, especially at this time when Trump is looking for an off-ramp, unless they were hit really hard. So these 3 warships, they are probably gone. They will retreat. They will leave the area.
Called them something else, a love tap. Still, Iranians now accuse the U.S. of violating the ceasefire, though the president insists it is still in effect. All of it comes as the U.S. and Iran try to restart talks to end the war. But even agreeing on ground rules is proving to be a challenge. The 2 countries are...
Iran wanted a war. They were challenging United States up front by attacking these warships because there is really no reason for them to do so. The only reason why we now have reports Iran attacked these warships was because of Iranian oil tanker came under attack. So for just one oil tanker, why they would go after these 3 warships? So it to me looks like Iran is sending a message to the United States and its military that if you don't behave, if you cross the red line, we will attack you in a way you have never imagined.
Are trying to put together a 1-page framework that would reopen the Strait of Hormuz and pause attacks for 30 days to allow time to hash out a broader deal. Sources tell ABC News a major sticking point is what the framework would say about Iran's nuclear program. The president wants Iran to hand over its nuclear material, the enriched uranium, telling me, we'll get the enriched material, there will be no enrichment.
Yeah, we're going to get it. We're going to get it.
But Iran won't commit to that. The president says he's not setting a deadline. But with each passing day, the toll on the world's economy is only...
Yeah, I mean, though this uranium enrichment that he's talking about, that he will take control of from Iran, is complete BS. His military, they're quitting, and it is just becoming a real nightmare for United States to conduct this operation and continue doing so, because now we have this report that generals, U.S. generals, are utterly terrified to speak out about the disastrous Middle East war. What you are hearing from the mainstream media like Fox News, they're complete BS, because this person, John Kirby, this guy, not her, the other guy, he is now confirming that all of these hyperbolic statements coming from Donald Trump that we're winning, we're going to decimate, we're going to destroy entire civilization. These are all BS. Take a listen.
Yeah, I think it's going to have a chilling effect. I think it already has had a bit of a chilling effect inside their ranks, certainly inside the Pentagon. You're not hearing a lot at all from generals and admirals and officers that are in charge of yet another war here in the Middle East. There's not a lot of communications. I think there's a real chilling effect about saying anything publicly that could land the wrong way on the Resolute desk. But it's also potentially having a chilling effect. And I've talked to friends who are retired admirals and generals, and there's some of them that feel that chilling effect as well, that they don't want to get out there. They don't want to say anything. They don't want to have their retirement pensions put at risk because they dare.
Because if they do speak out, these generals, U.S. generals, then yes, the pensions could be cut, could be suspended, just like what happened with Mark Kelly. If you do not know him, he's a senator. He spoke out against Donald Trump's policy. What Pete Hegseth did, he threatened him to take away all his pension, demote him, and so many things. So it's a disaster if you are in the States and you dare to speak out against Donald Trump. But this is what this reporter asked about the taco of Donald Trump one more time. Project Freedom suspended. Why was it suspended? Let's listen a little bit.
And now they're not ripping us off anymore.
What happened with Project Freedom, Mr. President? Why was that suspended? Administration officials were talking about this being the next phase of the war.
Really wonderful leadership at place. As you know, Pakistan has been fantastic. And their leaders have been fantastic. The Field Marshal and the...
So you suspended the Project Freedom because Pakistan was so great. Field Marshal Asim Munir is so great. Unbelievable stuff. He just tackled. I mean, okay. So let me actually tell you why he stopped this nonsense of Project Freedom. Let's take a listen here.
The screen. Trump's abrupt U-turn on the plan to reopen the Strait of Hormuz came after backlash from allies. Saudi Arabia, a key Gulf ally, suspended the U.S. military's ability to use its bases and airspace to carry out the operation. Trump's abrupt reversal came specifically on Project Freedom on Sunday afternoon. Now, initially, the market and others thought that this was a sign, the announcement of Project Freedom, only for 2 days later to back off of it. Now, the abrupt dismissal was initially thought by the market, by us, and others as, wow, so talks with the Iranians must be really, really serious. This must be progressing in a very good direction, because why else would you call off an operation which 24 hours before the Secretary of Defense and the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs were announcing in their bluster and in all their glory? Mm-hmm. Well, it turns out that in a call between Trump and the Saudi Crown Prince, Mohammed bin Salman, the issue not only was not resolved, but the KSA stood their ground. And the reasoning behind it is that they said they would not allow the military to fly aircraft from the Prince Sultan Air Base southeast of Riyadh or fly through any Saudi airspace to support the effort. We also need to shout out Ryan Grimm, who reported and apparently had the story. He was sitting on it. He didn't get there just fast enough.
Well, it looks like to me Saudi Arabia is going to be suspending any U.S. military activities using its airspace or air bases if it has to do with the Project Freedom. And when Donald Trump heard this from MBS, he was like, okay, so what is my option? So MBS told him, you need to just shut up. You just need to cancel this. You cannot have the Project Freedom, and we are not going to support you. I think there is a major problem going on between MBS and Donald Trump. I will talk about that in a separate video, but for now, what we also have heard from reports is that MBS said to Donald Trump clearly that he's not going to allow United States military bases in Saudi Arabia whatsoever. That's what the news is. We do not know still to what extent they will ban United States or block United States military activities in Saudi Arabia or in Qatar, in Kuwait, not Qatar, in Kuwait. I'll give you more updates, guys. Subscribe for more videos in the next one.